Hi everyone, this is my 2017 392 shaker, and today we're going to be putting the Direct Connection Zero Camber rear knuckles on it. I do race the car a fair amount at Mission and other local tracks, and I'm really hoping to pick up a little bit of time. It did run 11.82 at 115 mile an hour, and that's just on a Mickey Thompson ETR. Other than that, the car's stock. But I'm hoping these rear knuckles will give me a little more grip and help launch it a bit harder. And maybe I can get 11.6 out of it. If I did get 11.5, I'd be super happy, but that's definitely going to be pushing it. So anyway, let's get started. So as you can see, I got the car up on jack stands, tires off. So the next step is going to be to take the axle nut off. Some people will impact it. I don't like doing that because that makes the gears clatter back and forth and it's a little hard on them. So I'm going to grab Kelsey, have her step on the brakes, and then I'll take the axle nut and just crack it for now and get it all off. So while we wait for a hand to get Kelsey to step on the brakes so I can crack those knuckles loose, I thought I'd explain why I'm putting these knuckles on. So you might be able to see these are just the street tires, but you can almost still see there's a lot more wear on this inner edge than out here, and it's even more so with my Mickey Thompson ETRs that are about that much wider. So these knuckles will take the tires from being a little bit like this, mind you this is greatly exaggerated, to pretty much straight up is the idea. So zero camber. So with that, we'll be able to launch harder, at least in theory, that's what we're hoping for. And that'll help down the road, because what my ultimate goal with this car is to build another engine for it that I can drop in once the warranty's up. And hopefully that engine's powerful enough to get us somewhere between mid-10s and high 10s. Somewhere in that range is what I'm going for. What the eventual plans are is a 426 stroker with the Hellcat block, so it'll be good and strong. And like I say, I'd like it to be in that horsepower range of maybe, 657, somewhere in there. Something I can still drive every single day if I want to, not have to trailer, and take to the track and run in that time bracket. So that's the ultimate plan. But in the meantime, I'm getting the chassis ready for when I do have that additional power, that everything will be there and good. And, I'm not noticing a ton of wheel spin at the stock power, which is about 480, but if I can still get the chassis ready for that upcoming date and maybe improve a little on the factory stock times now, that's kind of the goal. Okay, so now we got Kelsey holding the brakes down and we should be able to break these axle nuts loose. And they're not super tight, but you'll want a breaker bar. And if I didn't mention, we're using an 1 1/4" socket. I'll do the other side while she's here. Okay, thanks, babe. Okay, so now that we cracked this loose with Kelsey holding the brakes, now we'll take it off. Okay, so let's get the caliper off. A block of wood to rest the caliper on so it's not hanging on the brake line. So now that that's off, we got to take the parking brake shoes off, and then all the linkage is going onto the knuckle. So you can see here, there's these little clips we got to get off, and below. The parking brake cable. A little dark in there. This upper one, the front. That link. And the stabilizer link. And the one to the main lower control arm. So I'm going to start by getting these brake shoes off. You can use a flathead and push them in and walk them back here. It's a little tricky. I'm sure there's a proper tool for this, but I don't have it. Okay, there's the top. And let's get the spring off. Make it a little easier for us. And there we go. Okay. Now, one thing to pay attention to is which way this parking brake lever goes. The rivet's at the bottom, and that's where the cable ties into to open these up. And pretty much as soon as you take this apart, it'll fall out. So you can see. And that's what the parking brake cable grabs and actuates your brake. So, next thing I'll do is get this ABS sensor out so we don't break it, and we'll tie it up in the wiring there for now. Now, one of the ones you're going to want to be careful of is this Allen head one here. So, I'm sure most of you have tried undoing an Allen head and it strips right away. So we're going to undo the nut side first, which is over here. Right there, that big guy. You can sort of see. And then that'll take some of the pressure off the Allen head and help us get it out without rounding the Allen head side of it and being totally screwed. And there we have it. Okay, so next we'll get this parking brake cable out. It just has a torque socket on the back, and then it can just pull right out. It's pretty easy. And there's that cable. Now it might be a little tough to come all the way out, but once we get the knuckle off, it's free. Okay. And most of the other stuff you'll need is an 18 socket and an 18 wrench. Nothing too fancy here. Okay, now that everything's loose, we'll take them all out. Might need a little rubber mallet just to help tap some of the bolts out. And you're going to want to keep track of which way these bolts go, whether the nuts are facing certain ways, where the washers are, stuff like that. Okay. And the last one. Then we'll put the nut back on the axle. You never want to hit an axle without the nut on it. You can mushroom it over. And we don't need to give it a hard, but just a little bit. Just until you see it move a little. Okay, now actually getting it off, now that everything's undone, can be a little bit of a two-person job. So somebody needs to hold that down to clear there. And then you got to try to keep everything kind of aligned so that the pushing in here isn't tweaking and making your life more difficult than it needs to be. And then give it a few taps and it should come off. So, Kelsey,
Okay.
you're up.
Okay. What do?
Okay. One side. Okay, so eventually with enough hammering, tapping, you'll get it off. Again, you should use a dead blow, make it a little easier, and you don't want to damage anything. But you can see the issue is this lower bushing is pressed in right here, and it can be a bit of a pain to keep all this aligned while you're trying to hammer it out. And of course, if you're like me working on the floor without a lift, there's not much room underneath cars. So the higher you can get it, the better. This is about as high as I could go with my jack stands, but not too hard. Enough tapping, a little bit of a hand, you'll get it off. That's probably the worst part of the whole job. And then we can start going back together. Okay, now we're ready to start reassembly with our new Direct Connection Zero Camber rear knuckles. I had the local dealer push in this bushing, and there's a sleeve right here I'll show you. You might be able to get by pushing them in a shop press, or maybe tapping them in with a socket or something. For the price of these knuckles, I didn't want to take the chance, so I just dropped them off to the local Dodge dealer and had them do it for me. And now we're ready to transfer over the backing plates and the wheel bearings. And speaking of wheel bearings, one thing with this kit I was unsure of is that this kit's listed for a red eye Challenger, so I wasn't sure if the splines here for the axle were going to have more. I know on the axle on the diff side they have more on the red eye than the normal Scat Pack, but I test fitted these, and as you can see they do fit on the stock Scat Pack as well. That being said, this car, I don't even think it has 70,000 kilometers on it yet. So I'm gonna save these for a later date and reuse my original wheel bearings. And I'll show you transferring all that over now. So we gotta take out these 4 inverted Torx screws.
Now there's new screws in the kit, well, bolts in the kit, so we're not going to reuse these, but I'll save them for later. Okay, so that comes apart. Now, one thing to remember on these is this shim for the parking brake needs to get transferred before you put the backing plate and wheel bearing on. Because as you can see, it actually sits behind, so you can't get it on after. And it just pries up a little. Not sure why this isn't in the new kit. You would think they'd include this with everything else they included anyway. Okay, so that's all we need off our old knuckles. I'll clean this up a little bit. Get some of the you don't want it to have any rust or anything when it's being mounted into that new knuckle. And this one's really clean, but better safe. Okay, give this backing plate a little clean. Make sure we put that the right way. Okay. And now your parking brake. The one parking brake stud you can't get in with the knuckle on. I forget which one, so I'm just going to put both in for now. Okay, and our new knuckle. Okay. New bolts. Oh, and what did I forget? Almost forget. Same thing, we'll give this a little clean. And that just slides on. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little blue Loctite on these, which is right here. And these are an E12, which I think is the same size as the front seat bolts too, actually. Okay, and then we'll torque these to 50 foot-pounds. And there we go. The new knuckle's ready to go on. It's pretty much the exact same as coming apart, just opposite, so I won't bore you with the details. But once it's all on and the link's on, I'll show you a few tricks. Okay, I got the knuckle on now. So one thing you'll want to do is put all the bolts in and then tighten them down, just so you can help get it aligned and you're not fighting it any more than you have to. It's really not bad to get on though. I did put a little anti-seize on the splines so that next time it comes apart a little better, hopefully. But again, I don't drive this in winter, so I don't have many rust issues, luckily. You can see there's the ABS sensor. And the parking brake one's back in too. Now speaking of the parking brake, this little adjuster goes with it down. So just like this in the car. And that just hooks on the cable. And now we'll get the parking brake shoes on. Here's a little trick for the parking brake while you're trying to get everything on. I like to put the first one on with the clip and then put a big zip tie around it, all or a few, and that'll hold the whole mess together while you try to get the bottom one on. And then you can get all your springs and everything on after. And it holds it all together, and it's just one less thing you're fighting. Okay, so as you can see, we got the brakes all back together. Again, there's really not a whole lot special about going together. It's pretty well the exact same as coming apart. Just don't forget to torque everything. I'll probably post those torque specs in the comments or maybe attach a photo of them after the video for those of you that need them. And again, don't forget to have somebody step on the brake pedal while you torque the axles. They go to 157 foot-pounds. So that's pretty well it for today. Those of you wondering how long it took to do, I'd say about the morning to come apart. Then if you're going to press it in, say a couple more hours to do those bushings. Like I say, I think it's well worth having Dodge do it themselves because there's a couple special tools. But in a pinch, you could probably get by without them. And then I've spent about 4 hours going back together. You could do it a lot faster. That's also with trying to film it and everything. But, you know, no rush. Just take your time and enjoy it. And that's it. So hopefully next time we'll get this on the track and we get some videos and post that for you too. I'm really hoping to get 11.6 or so out of the car. Like I said earlier, I ran 11.8 to Mission. That's pretty stock other than Mickey Thompson slicks and the seats out of it. I got a couple other things I'm going to do this summer, so I'm hoping to get a race seat for it and a lighter battery, and that's about it for this year. But really hoping to get 11.6 out of it or so. I really think we can. So anyway, if you want to see more, subscribe and we'll post some more videos. Thanks. Thanks for watching the show, and on our next episode we will be at NW Fuel getting our injectors tested, then working on getting the Golden Hawk running. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with the team. Thanks.